Hello, hello, hello. A very good evening to one and all, and a very warm welcome to our Speak to Lead workshop series, Empowering Ourselves. This is our third workshop series, which is on how to navigate the Danish job market and get hired, which is completely something different from what we normally do, which is focusing on communication and leadership skills. My name is I-Ching Nielsen, and I am president of the club. So why are we doing this? Well, we have seen too many talented professionals, especially internationals, struggling to get a job here in Copenhagen, in Denmark. Recent layoffs at major companies. I guess everybody has heard of Novo Nordisk, yeah? The latest? Yeah. Has actually made the job market tougher than ever. A lot of our members in this club has experienced this challenge firsthand, coming to Copenhagen, having great opportunities, to suddenly find themselves lost without a job, and finding it and realizing it's incredibly hard to secure the next one in Copenhagen. So we thought by doing this workshop, just excuse me for a minute. Yeah. So we thought by doing this workshop, we hope to help a lot of people in this difficult situation right now, to show our support and to tell the people here that we are actually here for you. So what is in store for us tonight? Well, I hope I know how to use the clicker. It's a new clicker. Oh, this was supposed to be shown when I was addressing you guys, so I'm a little bit behind. Now, the workshop is going to be split into two sections. The first part, we're going to concentrate on HR and the CV perspective. I'm going to have some speakers, amazing speakers lined up. Now, I'm really, on behalf of the board and on behalf of the club, I'm incredibly pleased actually that my cold calling worked, and I'm incredibly honored, extremely honored to have a lineup of 7 speakers tonight. And mind you, these speakers are not being paid to be here tonight. They are actually volunteering themselves, their time and the efforts to be here to share with you their professional strategies and also their real life personal experiences. So I'd like you guys to give them a round of applause, and I'll introduce it to them later. Give them a round of applause for the speakers. So the first part will be the CV and the HR perspective. We have a lineup of speakers, and then we have a Novorésumé surprise announcement, and then we have a Q&A session for about 15 minutes, and then we have a break. And the second section of the workshop, we'll have the perspective of a job seeker, sharing their personal journey with you, a kaleidoscope of experiences which they have, and hopefully that will give you some tips, some insights about how a job search is all about in Copenhagen. So this is going to be the first part of our workshop from the HR and CV perspective. Now before we do this, I would like to just give you a little bit of housekeeping tip. We're going to do some video recording, and we're going to take some pictures. The very fact that you're here, we take it that your consent has been given to allow us to do it. And you will have on the chairs the GDPR form and also the agenda. So please sign the GDPR form at the end of the workshop and hand it over to us. That would be very much appreciated. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the very first speaker. He was actually introduced to me by his wife, Tiana Lightfoot. Very unusual name, Tiana Lightfoot. Because I wrote on a Facebook posting in the expats group asking for volunteers. And she volunteered. She sent her husband over to the workshop. So who is Bjørn? Well, Bjørn grew up in a farm in Jutland. But do not let that fool you for 1 minute. He has spent the last 16 years in US building HR and talent acquisition in tech companies. He's got a master's in business and communications from Roskilde University and has just recently returned to Denmark, proving that even global citizens eventually come back here for the good coffee. He has also co-authored a book with his 11-year-old son, so why not add, children's author to your CV? Now today he's going to reveal how to hack the Danish job market without hacking your sanity. So please put your hands together to welcome Bjørn Svendsen, Talent Acquisition Lead. Hacking the Danish job market, what they don't tell you about getting hired here. Bjørn Svendsen.
Can I borrow it?
Sure.
Just a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And what I didn't mention is that I also spent 2 years living in Pakistan when I was a kid, Pakistan, India. And so my formative years were spent walking and sitting on trains, going through places that today would be considered kind of dangerous. They were back then too, but that's a different story. I'm going to try to make this a little bit fun. Am I in the right spot? I may move around a little bit.
Yeah,
is that okay?
Yeah, as long as you stay roughly between Leipzig and.
Okay.
You're good.
So we're going to talk about how to hack the Danish job market. And the first thing I want to tell you that is if you want to get a job in Denmark, you need to stop writing applications. They're not going to get you a job. The stories on LinkedIn and Facebook about I wrote 500 applications and I didn't get a job interview. They're true. Stop. It's a waste of your time. What you need to know about it here is that more than half of all jobs in Denmark go to somebody they already know. They never hit the internet, and even if they are, it's really just kind of we want to go through the process visibility kind of thing. Still the other half, but there's tons of people. I put out a job here earlier this week, and within like 3 days, I had 54 applications. Like, it's insane, right? So you got to do something different. And to me, blind applications are a losing game, and I don't want you to lose. So, that all sounds gloomy, it all sounds desperate. It doesn't have to be. In fact, I'm going to tell you it isn't. Because since everybody else is writing applications, blind applications, you have a chance to do something way smarter and way more impactful for you. But you got to hack that system. So, we're going to use our network. Tell you a little story. So about how small Denmark actually is. And it is a small, very small country. So there's a radio station called P3. It's a very popular radio station, at least it was when I lived here before. Now I just use Spotify. And 16 years ago, when I lived here last, there was this parlor game they played, the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. And they'd have random people call in saying, hey, how are you connected to me? And then the host would have like 2 hours while they're playing music and having funny banter to find a way within 6 degrees connection to that person. I do not remember. I'm sure it's happened, but I don't remember a single time where the host wasn't able to find a way from him to that person. That's how small Denmark is. Okay? There is a way to every single person in this country. If you wanted to talk to Her Majesty the Queen, there is a way. In fact, I know a person that knows her. Like, that's how small this country is. So, it's also true that the bigger your network is, the easier it is for you to get in front of people, simply because the law of numbers, right? And so, you need to build your network to get another job. But before you go out in your network and you just start blasting people who've seen that post on LinkedIn, I'm looking for a job. How many people do you think got a job doing that? Not a whole lot of people, right? The first thing you got to do is you got to map out who do you know. And who do they know? Where do they work? What can they do for you? And so that can seem like a daunting task, and about 30 years ago it probably was. Today, how many of you are not on LinkedIn? Okay, I changed. How many of you are not on social media?
I think I have to be on Facebook because of Toastmasters.
You're on social media. Yeah. There you go. Everybody's connected, okay? Everybody's connected. And you can use that to your advantage. You can use that to mine that for data about who do you know, where do they work, how do you know them, how well do you know them, what do you have in common, right? Make an Excel spreadsheet, start writing stuff in, right? And then when you've done that, you can start saying, well, who should I know? What are the companies I want to work for? Who should I know there? Who do I know that might know somebody that might know somebody that I can get in touch with, right? All that stuff is out there. Play around. LinkedIn is your friend. You should be on LinkedIn if you're not today. Please, it sounds like you all are, right? Start figuring out how to use it a little bit better. So, we're private in Denmark. Right? Have you ever noticed how private Danes people are? They have a hard time getting in touch, right? So let me tell you a really old joke. I don't know if you heard this one. So if you're sitting on a train and you see two Danish friends, they're sitting across from each other. How do you know which one is the extrovert and which one is the introvert? The extrovert is the one that's looking at the other guy's shoes. Okay? It's true. Think about it. It's true. And so this is actually to your advantage because Danes are really, really private, which means when you put that post on LinkedIn saying, I'm looking for a job, they're going to be like, okay, cool. But if you reach out to your friend and you say, hey, I need your help, they will go out of their way to help you. The thing is, Danes do not like to pry. They do not like to put their nose in your business. They don't like to help unless you ask them. But if you ask them, they take a great deal of pride in helping. Right? There's a long story about religion and all sorts of stuff we'll get into that we're not going to do here. But that's like it's in the how Danes are. I think that's how most people are in the world. But with super introverts, it's like, I've been given this task. I need to do it. Right? Like that's how it works. But you got to be really, really specific with them too. Like you can't just go, help me. Like, help me do this. Right? If you ask them to do something specific, they're probably going to do it. Thing is, networks are not always enough. So I'm going to tell you the most important hack you're going to learn from me, for sure, and potentially from tonight. You need to get on the phone. You need to call people, right? You cannot wait. This is why applications don't work. It's because you're putting stuff into a blind machine and you're waiting for somebody to call you. You're letting others decide for you. You need to be the one that makes the decisions. The thing is, here in Denmark, this is your secret weapon. Denmark has strived to become the most digital country on earth, and I think they've succeeded. And anybody who's tried to interact with BOA service knows that there's some downsides to becoming as digital as Denmark has become. And the real downside is that most Danes, this is where you have an up on Danes, like you have a leg up on them, listen to this. Most Danes have forgotten about the human connection. They crave it. But again, they're introverts. They like to sit like this, right? But they crave that human connection. when you've gotten to know Danish people, you know that they're actually really warm. Once you get to know them, it's just getting through that shell that's really freaking hard, right? And so by picking up the phone and calling, you are circumventing all that. You're saying, hey, I'm your friend. Hi, let's talk, right? You're taking away the fear from them. And you're not letting some computer system, decide whether you get to interview for the job. And so that's why the first thing you should do, all right, is you be the one that gets on the phone, dial the numbers, call the hiring manager. If you don't know the hiring manager, who do you know at that company? Call them, right? Or if it doesn't say the hiring manager on the number, figure out, hey, it reports to somebody in this department. Who's the head of that department? You go on LinkedIn, you figure it out, you find their number, go on Krak.dk, there's like 20 people with that name, call them all. Are you this person? You're laughing, it works, right? Like, it's not a big country. And I said, it's not about how hard it is to find the phone number, it's about, are you willing to do it, right? You got to find that inner Sherlock Holmes. You got to go find the people you want to talk to. What is you want them to talk to? Then when you have them on the phone, you got to have relevant questions, right? If you're just calling and saying, hey, I saw this job post online, can you please hire me? You're not setting yourself apart. Spend some time, do some research, figure out about the company, about what's happening. Have some good questions. But lead off with some softball questions. They don't know you yet. Make them feel comfortable about it. And when you finish the call, ask for an interview. Ask for a coffee date, right? Like, hey, let's go have a meeting. Even if they say no, it's okay. Then, and only then, do you send an application. You mention the name of who you've talked to, and that you've had that conversation. This allows you to get past a lot of the HR anti-candidate stuff that's out there. And the reality is, most HR departments are there to stop you from getting a job. They're not there to help you get hired. Mm-hmm. Sounds crazy, right? But that's really what the mindset of most people that sit in the HR department is. They don't want you to get a job. They just want to avoid getting yelled at for hiring, making a bad hire. So this isn't magic. It takes discipline. I'll just give you a couple of examples of people I've shared this with and how it's worked. One person I helped, he made 80 calls, got 20 responses. Means 60 people didn't answer. Okay. 5 job interviews and 1 job. That's the stats. Another got 50 calls, 12 responses, 4 interviews, had 2 job offers, and then another person called and said, hey, you called me 2 months ago. That wasn't the right job, but here's the job you need to be in. Interviewed, got the job a week later. Persistence, making oneself known that you're out there. So, start calling. And I want you to stand up right now. And I'd like for you to look around, see if there's somebody you don't know in this room. I want you to go greet them. I want you to grab your phones. And I want you to connect on LinkedIn right now. Because that means you just made a new connection. Your network just got big.
We've got a dynamic duo from PricewaterhouseCoopers. Why are they dynamic? Well, they're not only going to help you land a job, they're going to also future-proof your career in Denmark. We've got Rasmus Krzesinski. He is the architect behind HR transformation initiatives, optimizing how organizations attract and manage talent. Well, Tabitha, she is I'm not good at using clicker. Well, Tabitha, she is the strategist who sees around corners, helping companies to anticipate the workforce of tomorrow, and also making sure that, even before they arrive. So Rasmus and Tabitha, together as a team, they combine sharp strategy with forward-thinking insights. So treat them like your career GPS, where Rasmus will have to make sure the system is running smoothly, and then Tabitha will be the one showing you in the right direction, making sure that, neither of them will allow you to make a wrong turn into a dead-end job. So I'd like you guys to put your hands together to give a warm welcome to the dynamic duo, Rasmus, Krzesinski, Tabitha Goedhart. Did I pronounce it?
Goedhart.
Goedhart?
Yeah.
The Director of HR Transformations, Manager of HR Transformations of PricewaterhouseCoopers. Pleasure, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alright, we have a clicker. Where's the clicker?
Do you have a clicker? Yes, I'm keeping the clicker. I'm holding it. Apparently.
Yes, clicker's good. Right, this is us pretty faces. So, you just heard there's different strategies to getting a job. And we have a positive sales spin here as well, because actually there is a lot of jobs. There's a lot of things going on, right? I just talked to a nice guy who was part of Club 5000. Not so fun. We hear Ørsted. They're also planning to do a lot of things. There's a lot of companies, when you look at the media, that's firing these days. But that's just when we look at the media right now. If we look broader, there's actually positive news. Because if we look to 2030, and that's just 5 years from now, we're looking at a whole lot of shortage. We predict, but it is predicted that 90,000 full-time workers will be in shortage by 2030. That means there's quite a lot of workers in shortage right now, but it will just grow. And when we look at the numbers for that, we see that unemployment rates has been below 3% in Denmark since 21. They have been fairly low, might have a short increase now, and we saw some patterns during COVID-19. But in general, when we look over the years, it's fairly stable. Now, it's fairly stable now. And it might be fairly stable for a few years, but there's a lot of changes going on. Right? You have AI coming in as a key skill and a key focus, key challenge for job seekers as well, because now everyone is writing these, excellent, resumes and excellent cover letters, and maybe they mean even less than they did before, right? Because now it's just a flood of them. But when we look at the numbers and look at how employment will be rising and this kind of lack of people to fill the roles, we do expect it's going to keep going, right? The data shows that across sectors, it has grown over time, even though unemployment has shown that it's fairly stable. And employment has increased as we look. So we're looking at a peak of just under 4 million jobs by 2025. And suddenly it hits, right? Things change. We have a lot of dialogues with companies. And these companies tell us there's still a war for talent. We still need people. We cannot get the right people. And even now, with Club 5000 and all the changes, they're still saying we cannot get people. So why is it then very hard to get a job in Denmark sometimes? And it can feel like that way. Well, it's because they're looking for very specific things. They're looking for the skills that are in shortage. And one of those skills is AI acumen, of course, right? That's everyone talks about Gen AI. I use Gen AI every day. A lot of people do. But very few people actually understand what that means. What does it actually mean to use it? Use it responsibly. And just clicking there. And it's a big priority for companies. You get higher wages with AI skills. We also did a recent survey. There's also a tendency that you get jobs more if you have these skills. It's like the IT boom, but now it's different. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be an IT specialist or a coding specialist or anything like that. But the knowledge about these topics makes a whole lot of difference.
Absolutely. And I think one thing to point out here is we can see absolutely that employers in the market are valuing AI skills. They're investing a lot in this area, but they're also investing in their employees to upskill them. But I think the main message here is that whilst there is AI is changing the job market completely, it is actually also creating just as many new opportunities. So if you think about that, what you've got to do is try and take a hold of those new opportunities as much as possible, and you have to go with the times to help secure those jobs. So I guess, as I said, what you might be thinking about now is, well, okay, what does that actually mean practically? It's all well and good to talk about, knowing AI. So here we've got some of the key example skills that you might be able to market yourself better with when that relate better to the trends that we discussed. So technical and systems knowledge, of course, just the general AI, communication, problem solving, and adaptability. And what I want to point out about these is that, yes, the first two are a bit technical, and it would be really great for you to make sure that you at least know what you're talking about and what Gen AI is doing in the industry that you're applying for a job in. So you don't have to be an expert in the systems or Gen AI, but you need to know what's happening and what way the sector that you're applying for is moving and how it's impacting that work environment. And then on the flip side, there's so many soft skills that are related with AI-related work that you can make sure, such as adaptability and communication, that you can make sure that you bring to the forefront when you market yourself for jobs in the market, right? So we all have skills that are relevant to AI. It's just about making sure you highlight those. And as I said, maybe doing a little bit of extra investment in your learning. And, Rasmus and I have discussed today that it doesn't have to be a formal qualification or learning. There's so much on LinkedIn Learning, even YouTube, that you can get yourself educated with.
I think you would call it strategic upskilling, right?
Yeah.
The war for talent is huge. The skills gap is even huger.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be competing with people in the company who don't know what you know. And it might be extremely boring to sit through a lot of LinkedIn Learning, but it does make sense if you use it strategically. You don't need a Prince 2. We don't need more people with Prince 2 certifications. We don't need more people who can do an Excel something. But we do need people who understand AI in some way. So,
some strategies then for navigating the Danish labour market. So actually a lot of these align, Bjørn, with what you said, which I think is good because we're obviously hitting the point. Networking is key. It aligns with what you said, Bjørn, that the research shows that 62% of positions are never publicly advertised. It's a bit lame, but your network is your net worth. Going to these networking events are important for your skills. But you need to also not just go to your networking events and have some general conversation. You need to make sure that you're marketing yourself, asking the right questions, and showing off, what you can do, I guess, subtly, right? And what I want to say as well is that I'm also an international, as you can tell. I'm from the other side of the world in Australia, and you are, unfortunately, the reality is a lot of companies would prefer to hire someone that can also speak Danish or has more experience in this, because it's a company that's operating in the country, right? So you are going to have to go ahead and do these things to set yourself apart. I think that's just the reality. You can't sit back and take it like just a random person applying for jobs. Secondly, unsolicited applications are key route to employment in Denmark. So fun story, my job was advertised, but it said you needed a master's and you needed to speak Danish. I picked up the phone. I think it was 9 p.m. in Australia, and I spent 90 krona on the call. But I called just to ask a few questions, and not just ask a few questions, subtly, tell them how much experience I have in this area. And are you also talking about strategic workforce planning? Because you didn't mention that, but I think that's a really interesting area that I've got a lot of experience in. And then I got the job. So I think you can use those phone calls that you mentioned as an opportunity to learn more about the job, seem curious, you get your name in their heads, and then you can also market yourself a little bit better. Perhaps even with some AI knowledge, And then just the final point, it can be very scary when you are, unemployed and finding a job, especially in a tough labour market. But it's also a good opportunity, right? You should really look at the time, if you can, to have a look take it kind of as a career break and reevaluate, where do you want to go? Have a look at the market. Things are changing. Which way are they changing? And which way do I want to go? Was I happy in my last job? What did I like about that the most? What would I like to see more in the future? And I think it's just a really strategic opportunity for you to maybe help yourself in the future also get the most out of the jobs that you're applying for. Perfect. And I think we're out of time, but Rasmus, I actually, when we ran through this earlier today, gave me one other comment, which I think was important.
I agree with Bjørn. You have to break through the barriers of Danish people. We are fairly private, which also means we do not necessarily respond well to overly formal messaging. So try to assume that you're their friend. Don't be informal, but you're their friend even though you don't know them yet, and hopefully you will be their friend. It will help you a lot in gaining rapport with people. And I see a lot of people when they try to come to Denmark or recently came to Denmark being a bit too formal. Especially people coming from US, they come from a different culture in that regard. Danish people want to, we have flat hierarchies, right? So that means that we respond differently to informal messaging.
Yeah. Great. That's all for today.
He is a technical entrepreneur, and he has worked everywhere, from scrappy startups to tech giants like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. He's got a PhD, a MSc, a BSc in computer science. Obviously, one degree was not enough for him. He has been living, loving, and coding in Denmark since 2012. And today, he's going to show you how to optimize your CV so well that recruiters might just take it out of the drawer and frame it up. If you've ever wondered how to make your CV irresistible, then let me tell you, Vlad is your guy. So I want you to please put your hands together to welcome Vlad, Manea, Chief Technology Officer of NetFlow. How to optimize your CV, Vlad, Manea.
Thank you. How to optimize your CV. For some of you in this room here, building a network actually takes time. You can't just, come to Denmark and build a network, start a network. You have to construct it. And while you construct it, and also from my experience, actually they do ask you for a CV at some point or a resume. It happened in all the jobs that I have applied to, or recruiters have contacted me, or I have met people and talked with them. At some point, somebody in that company will ask you for a CV. And in that situation, you want to have a CV that actually makes sense and that actually communicates what you have communicated with the person before. So now I have a startup, and in this startup we have advertised a job for a software engineer, and we got 100 applications, so again very many, and then we had to reject 95 and then look at 5 of them. So what did the 5 of them actually do better than the others? That's what I want to show you today, up to some extent. So specifically, this talk will fit into the other talks as well, because you will learn from the other speakers today that you can hack the job market. You can also get some directions and as well some projections from PwC today. And later in the next presentations, you will also learn about specific strategies at the grass level, how you can actually apply for a job specifically. So in this context, my presentation will be specifically on the CV part of the application, which is just a tool. It's just one particular tool in your tool set for applying for jobs. So it's not going to, as you know, it is necessary, at least for me, it has always been necessary, but not sufficient for getting a job. The other assumption I want to make is that since most of the people in the room are job seekers, then I kind of expect that they do have a CV, or they do have a CV template. So this talk will not be about how to create a CV at the beginning. It will be about how to optimize a CV or a CV template that you already have. And then I'm going to show you three. So before showing you the three principles that I have came to, I would like to focus on a particular example job application. So here we are looking at somebody who has worked at BR, and then they want to apply for Lego, and they want to apply for a job as a marketing manager. And the reason why I chose marketing manager is because it is easy to grasp. Kind of everybody in the room knows what a marketing manager is. The skills that they need are also skills that are transferable. You need to know how to communicate, you need to know how to tell a story, you need to know how to use technical tools in order to create ads, campaigns, and so on. And then, not least, in marketing, you can also have some measurement of your impact. You can say, I have run a campaign, and then that campaign had that reach, and that those many people have seen this ad, and maybe even how much the company has sold after seeing this ad. Then on the other side, why did I go for BR to Lego transition is because they are two somewhat similar companies, and for example, people in the 5,000 may be looking for a rather similar company first, rather than looking for completely different companies. So here, the reason why I went with this example is because they are recognizable businesses. We all know what Lego does. When I grew up, I couldn't actually afford to have a Lego, so I had some other kind of toys which are not Lego, but I was dreaming for Lego. And then now I have a few sets, not many. Then the second reason for choosing BR and Lego is that they are Danish employers. They also have a very strong international footprint, and they are also considered top employers. So it's like, aiming for some of the best employers in Denmark. And the third reason here is that they also have some goal that could be plausible now for the example, to say they want to digitize the brick or digitize the set or digitize the toy, because they have the physical objects and then they want to take it into digital. So this is why I went for marketing manager at BR that has been at BR, and they are looking for a similar position at Lego. And now I'm going to go into the specific principles, and I'm going to get a little bit technical here, so you will have to bear with me and see the examples. So the first principle here is to customize the summary in your CV. So I've seen many summaries that don't connect your own profile with the job that you apply for and with the company that advertises that job. They are not in sync. And actually, what I have seen in the CVs that we selected is that they actually had a good fit with what we were looking for. So here, the principle is that you want to customize the summary, and the objective that you want is a match in heaven. And granted, this match in heaven can also happen during networking when you talk with somebody, but then you would have to still make this kind of match here. So it's not only for CVs here. The second principle that I want to speak about is proving the impact that you have. I've seen so many CVs that show all of these results that are very fuzzy, unclear, and then there's no evidence. It's just I did great and massive impact, but I don't know how to quantify that. And the third principle that I want to speak about today is to structure your experience. I will go a little bit more specific into how you can tell a story instead of having a blob of text that describes what you did, or even worse, a list of tasks that are completely unspecific to you as a person. They're just a job somewhere. And how can you actually make this into a story instead? So I will go with the first principle, customize the summary. And just for your comfort, we will publish the slides at the end, so you don't need to take photographs. Try to just focus on the presentation instead. So the first principle here is customize the summary. And I will show you in all three principles two variants. The first variant here, or two versions, are the first one here is experienced marketing professional with strong communication skills, fast learning ability, and motivation to contribute to Lego. Now, what do you think that is wrong in this description? Can you maybe have a show of hands? Maybe you can give some attributes about how you feel when you read this. Is it good? Is it generic? Anybody else? Yes?
I think it shouldn't mention Lego.
It shouldn't mention Lego, okay? Yes? Anybody else? Nobody. All right. So the application here is for Lego. So you are applying for Lego. You are sending the CV to Lego. Right. So here the issues with this version is that it has a very generic profile, like somebody has already said here, and then the role is also unclear or missing. I don't know. Is this a marketing manager, just marketing professional? Strong communication skills. Again, I don't know what they are. They're more like buzzwords. They don't give any context. And eventually the company is just name dropped. I'm just applying motivation to contribute to Lego. And so what? What are you going to contribute to that? Are you going to cook for Lego? Are you going to do marketing? Are you going to write code for Lego? Nobody knows, right? So there is another version which might be better here, which is marketing manager with 6 years of experience from BR, ran 10 campaigns that increased user engagement by 25%. At Lego, I want to help families enrich their physical sets with incredible digital stories. This sounds a little bit more specific to Lego. So the value of this is that your profile here is more credible, and it also has some unique element here, incredible digital stories. Other people will simply not write this, they will write something else. The role is also clear. You are a marketing manager, have 6 years of experience in a similar company, and you also ran campaigns that had impact here. And then at the end, the connection with the company is also clear, because you show the digitization part here, help to enrich their physical sets with digital stories. So physical and digital, it's the mission that they have, as well as the product, which is in this case the physical sets, and the user, which is families. So this is the value of this version is here that it kind of feels more like a match in heaven, compared to the generic one that you see here that is completely disconnected from Lego. The second principle is to prove the impact, and again the same exercise. Version 1. Responsible for planning digital marketing campaigns for several BR product launches in different European markets, helping improve results and achieving strong impact. By show of hands, what are the problems in this description?
No numbers.
Second?
No numbers.
No numbers, nothing. You don't know what the impact is. So the issue here is that the language is very soft. Responsible for planning, helping improve. Then the scale is also unclear. Several BR product launches. Some other people use many, for example, or other words. And then in the end, the relevance is also very fuzzy. It's like improve results and achieving strong impact. What is that? Like, I can't really relate this to what I need this person to have in terms of performance for the job where they're applying right now. So we have a second version here, which by luck, it's also shorter because there's less fuzzy words here. And the second version sounds like this. Planned and executed 40 digital marketing campaigns for 3 new BR toy lines in 5 European countries, increasing sales by 30% compared to last year. This sounds better, and this makes more sense for somebody who is reading the CV and hiring it. This is, again, it's for a particular job description inside the CV. Why is it better? Because the language is precise, planned and executed. The scale is clear. It was 5 European countries, 3 new toy lines, and then the impact was measurable because you can see 30% also compared to a baseline, compared to how it was last year. So that was a clear performance there. And then what you want to have here, and that's maybe specific to the Danish market, is that you are showing a bit of quiet confidence here. Why is it quiet? Because you're not saying here amazing, strong impact. You just say the facts. So you are confident, but you are also humble at the same time. The third principle is to structure the experience. And here I'm going to start from the last version and we will improve it. So this one is the one that you have seen before. The problem is that it mixes context with work, with impact, in an order that doesn't quite make sense. You start with the work, so it's like a very low level of abstraction. Then you say context, which is very high, what the company is doing. Then you say the impact, which is somewhere in between. And then there's no understanding of what team you had, what work setting you had, as well as no story in the end. So the alternative to this would be a version like this. Led the marketing process for 3 new BR toy lines in 5 European countries, working with designers, product managers, and local store teams. Again, specific to Denmark, collaboration is very well valued in these job descriptions. We planned, so not I planned, but we planned and executed 40 campaigns across 10 channels, and then the results. Families discovered more ways to play and returned to buy new digital add-ons, increasing the sales by 30% compared to last year. It adds more context, it makes more sense. This sounds more like a story that I would see when I want somebody to work in my company as a marketing manager. So again, the value is that you start with a context, which is a high level of abstraction. You go into team, which is slightly lower. Then you go into nitty-gritty work. Maybe some people will not read that part. Then you go back into results, and then in the end, the impact. So if they just read the beginning and the end of a blob of text, at least they will read what matters from this. So the objective of this in the end is to have a story that counts. You have to have something that actually they can connect to. And then, if you are to remember one slide, it is these 3 principles. It is that you want to customize the summary make the profile, role, and company sing together, have a unique song that will feel like a match in heaven. The second principle is to prove your impact, add numbers, add context, and use evidence instead of hyperbole and adjectives. The objective here is to have quiet confidence. And in Denmark, this is very valued. And then, at the end, it is to structure your experience in your past job descriptions so they sound like it makes sense. They sound like, okay, I know what this is about, I know what your setting was, I know what you did, what your individual contribution was, and then I also know the results, what happened, and then also the impact at the very end. And this is just one framework. There are other frameworks as well that you can use, as long as you don't mix things around in that really large blob of text, or even worse, what I've seen in many CVs, just a listing of tasks and responsibilities that have absolutely no logic. So, in conclusion, this leaves us that the CV is just a tool in this context, and the other speakers have focused on other aspects such as networking, referrals, calling, coffee chats, LinkedIn. They said it better than me. But then in the end, in my situation, both as a hiring manager when I was receiving applications, not just from Denmark, also internationally, because if they are international, then if you have remote jobs, then they may not necessarily have a network here in Denmark. They could be working remotely. So the purpose of this optimization is to get the hiring manager to say, yes, I want to actually contact this person back. And from my experience, 5%, I have contacted back 5%. The rest didn't get further in the interviews. And then, in terms of what you can do next from this meeting today, is that you can use this framework as in customizing, proving the impact, as well as at the end creating more storylines in your CV in such a way that you can let your CV tell your own story, something that feels personal from the CV, even though the hiring manager is not your friend, such that it feels relatable to you and it also describes you in the context of the job that you apply for and in the context of the company that is advertising that job. I would like to thank you. This is my LinkedIn. You can connect with me this way, as well as if you want, we can also connect during the break. Thank you so much.
It's a lot of work, isn't it, to put into a CV, and a lot of things to go through. Well, you know what? I have a solution for you guys. I have like some short corners to cut, which will really save you a lot of work. Eager to hear about it?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Novorésumé. I believe that you guys know about Novorésumé, right? Anyone has not heard of this company before? Hands up. Quite a lot. Okay, now, this company is founded in Copenhagen. It's an award-winning company, and it offers online, innovative, and very professional resume builder platform. It helps you to create a CV within minutes, so that it solves you a lot of headaches. And they have about 16 million users worldwide. And they have won the Danish Gazelle Award twice. Vlad, what is a Gazelle Award actually?
It's an award that they get if they have, I think, some growth, some particular growth over several quarters.
Yeah. Okay.
Needs to be repeated, I think.
All right. Because Gazelle sounds like some kind of a monster story or Star Wars gorilla, gazella, I don't know. But they have won the award twice. And Ștefan, he's the CEO and the co-founder of Novorésumé, together with Andrei, our Chief Marketing Officer. They would have very much loved to be here today, but they're actually overseas for business commitments. But still, they wanted to show their support in a very big way. So they have prepared a very nice gift for you guys. Do you want to hear about it? Yes. Okay. I'm just trying to keep the suspense longer. Here's the gift. They are going to give you today, people who are here, whether you're a club member or a guest, the people who have signed up for this workshop, you get to receive 1 month free of charge the premium Novorésumé account. Woo! That means you will have access to all their advanced tools to create the resume or the CV that you want for maximum impact. In order to get this gift, you have to send us an email. Speak to the Toastmasters Deco. We will let you know, because you get to receive the slides as well. And then we will send you the details on how you can actually get this 1 month free premium Novorésumé account. Isn't that great? Yeah. So thank you very much to Ștefan and Andrea for actually supporting this workshop. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And when you want to speak, please say your name, and then if you want to ask a question to one of the speakers, please say so, or otherwise you say the questions for everyone to answer. Okay, I take it that Valeria is dying to stand up and ask the question. Please get up, Valeria.
Yeah, my name is Valeria, yeah, and I have a question to Bjørn. Because over the years I heard from HR consultants the same recommendation. You should be different, you should call people, you shouldn't just write, because it's very important. And like, I believe everyone who tried to apply for the job heard it. And considering how many resume you received when you just post application, how many calls do you receive? And how irritating it started to be if everyone will just follow this advice and say, oh, I'm calling you, yeah, I have bunch of amazing questions for you. Like, it also can be negative thing if it will be too much.
I have never been annoyed. I have hired over 1,000 people in my life, and I have never been annoyed when somebody called me. If I was to order, how do you get a job? The very best way to get a job is if you know the person that's hiring. That's like up here, right? The second best way is if you know somebody that knows the person that's hiring. The third best way is if you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who's hiring. Now we're getting out to, the degrees of separation here. At some point, the only way you're going to get that person to know you is if you call them. Now you have to approach them the right way. I think this is what you talk to as well, Rasmus, right? Which is, Danes are very informal, right? If I was in Texas, where I used to live, I'm going to call you like this. Hey, this is Bjørn. I want to talk to you about this job. I was really interested in it, right? It's going to be very direct, because in Texas, it's not quite New York, but it's kind of like that, at least in Dallas where I lived, right? Here, there's a bit more pleasantry. There's a little bit this, let's make love dance, with words that's going on, right? And so, not once have I been annoyed. Doesn't mean you get the job, right? But as late as today, I called a person specifically because they had called me. I think I had 15 applications in the list, right? 5 of them I just booted out immediately. I looked at them for 5 seconds. I looked at a resume for 5 seconds. If you haven't caught me, I don't care, right? Like, that's how much time you got. Just understand this. You got 5 seconds to capture me, or you're gone. If I'm on the phone with you, I'm going to spend more than 5 seconds on your resume. Now, what Vlad said is, resume's got to be good, right? Like, you're not getting a job if you're bad. But a lot of really good people don't get a job because I'm going to spend 5 seconds with you. If you're using a company that's like Workday, right? Well, there's an AI tool that's shifting you out because you wrote, instead of vagtplanlægning, you wrote arbejdstidsplanlægning, so you didn't get the job. This is a real work. Workday right now in America is being sued because their AI system doesn't allow you to get a job if you're not a white man over 30 with a degree from Stanford, MIT, Harvard, or one of those places, right? Like, there's some really stupid stuff that's going on there. So just don't get caught up in that. And if they don't like you because you called them, guess what? You don't want to work for them. Like, what an a-hole.
Thank you very much, Bjørn, for that very honest answer. Are you happy, Valeria?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Anders, yes, you're the next.
Yeah. So the next question is what question to ask, because sometimes I feel stupid for calling because, well, all I need to know is already in the application, so on the posting. So what questions do you ask?
Can I say, it's what is there not on there about, say, a responsibility that they're expecting you to deliver that you can double click on and ask more questions about? You know, like, yes, they might have all the practical information there, where it is, if it's work from home or not work from home, etc. But you want to actually ask about more practical questions about the responsibilities, because a lot of the time they just put very generic ones. So, and as I mentioned before, I think it's also a good way to just flex your knowledge. So you can ask a question that you might already kind of know the answer to, but you ask it in a way that shows yourself off.
So Tabitha and I have a similar story, because I had a Skype account in Texas when we decided to move here, and I call people, and I'm a little bit cheeky, as you can hear, and so I tried to be authentic, and I'd ask them questions that were a little bit offbeat, right? So why wouldn't I want to work for you? They got to prove themselves why they want to hire me. It doesn't work with everybody. Like, it's also got to be authentic to who you are. So I might question, is everything in the job description? I tell you, every single job I've ever had, and every single client I've ever advised, and every single person I've hired in my life, the thing that mattered wasn't what was in the job description. It was a chemistry between two people, a people in a team. Every single person I've had to fire in my life, and I've fired more people than I like to recall, has almost to a T been because they lacked the chemistry, or they lacked the human egenskaber, what's that? Competencies, the human competencies that was important. So ask questions about, so what are you looking for in a person, right? What is the person that's going to fit into this team? What does the team dynamics look like? What do you guys do for fun, right? How do you connect? And again, if they don't have any fun things they do, it's a paycheck, but you probably want to leave pretty quickly anyways.
Any more questions? I've got some actually. Any more from Scheisse?
I should have a question for Tabitha. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Tabby's fine.
Yeah. You mentioned something about generative AI. What competencies do you think the future job market, the private sector, is looking for
Is there
in
any
generative AI? I'm just wondering, if you have no experience from the tech world, but the future is AI, no doubt about that. What do you think that the future employers are looking for in the future?
Well, I'll answer a bit more broadly, and then I might pass over to you, Rasmus. So I put two of them up there, problem solving and adaptability. We're looking for someone that can now work with AI to get the best results. So you have to be able to, another one is critical thinking. So it's your ability to adapt quickly to change, work with the technology, be able to pull together different pieces of information that you're getting from these machines and put it into something valuable. So it's kind of really being that collector and master and putting everything in, rather than necessarily coming up with it. That's from a very soft skills broad point of view. Do you have any more?
That's a very good way you put it. Work with AI to create better results.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a tool, right? And using that tool is fairly new. We're seeing an uptake of Gen AI into organizations that is massively quicker than the internet was. And that emails, right, going from fax to email, fairly slow compared to the uptake of AI. And suddenly it's everywhere. So there's something about using AI to generate better results and the critical thinking. I think we're also seeing that, a lot of people are just putting a question into, Gen AI, and they get an answer out, and they're just out with that. And you can fairly easily, first of all, recognize where it's coming from. There's a fairly high chance of hallucination still, depending on what model you use. I think the point about not being overly friendly with AI, if you use Grok, don't. I think that's a good start. That is a very biased tool. So knowing about the biases, what should you use, right? There's something about knowing the world of using it and how organizations can apply that. And then I think lastly, having to think about the governance. There's a lot of things you can learn that doesn't necessarily need you to have technical competencies. I think technical competencies are rare. I've heard like $1 million salaries not being that uncommon for people who can actually build this. It takes a while to learn. I will never learn that, but I know how to use it and use it to get good results, like a screwdriver. If you know how to use a screwdriver, you can be fairly efficient and you can do your job better and do your job quicker. If you don't, it'll take a longer time. Difference between me and my wife when we do it-yourself renovation.
Does that answer your question, Shaista?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, and then we've got one.
Hi, my name is Esther. I have a question for Rasmus. Let me just read it because I jotted it. So this is quite specific to your statistics, because you were saying that there's going to be like 90,000 shortage by 2030, right? So I'm curious to kind of understand from you which industries or which skill sets. And the reason why I'm curious is because I've kind of heard something like this before, because I've been quite active in Vlad, like volunteering and building community there for internationals. And they're kind of sharing the similarities as well. But when I heard this statistics being read there, it was mostly for like life sciences, STEM. And for me personally, like I'm a marketing manager. Vlad, your description of the marketing managers, I felt very seen. So I'm just kind of curious, like in this 90,000s, are they like STEM related skills, or are they also, this, I guess, marketing would be like a support categories?
Yeah, so it's across a broad number of categories, right? So of course there will be a lot of STEM roles that will be a lack of, as I mentioned. Also AI specialists, software engineers in general is something that we see we need more and more of in various types of roles. It also comes into structural engineering. If you look at industries, stuff like companies like logistics have high growth rate. We still expect, even with the recent news, that life sciences, pharma will grow. We do have several companies that are scale-ups and expect to grow to 3 or 4 times their size within the next couple of years. Within fund management, we also see quite a few scale-ups within finance. They also tend to scale quite a bit these days. So I would say, especially within logistics, life sciences, pharma, and finance industries, lots of scale-ups. But if we kind of go outside of that, even electricians, and I'm saying electricians because we have a lot of people who are close to retirement age who are electricians, and we need them for 1,000 different things. And that means that the job security is incredibly high. Unemployment rates for electricians is around 1%. So you'll get a job as an electrician. You might not want to be an electrician. That's a different thing. Right? My wife works in communication and marketing as well. She doesn't want to be an electrician when it comes to it. But we did talk about it, right, because of the employment rates. So it's across a variety of industries and skills, but I would say mainly those 3 industries we see rapid growth.
I might add a couple things here. So my company, I worked in IT consulting for 15 years in Texas. I came here and was like, I want to do something else, right? And so I work for a pedagogy company that has pedagogy, right? It's welfare, private welfare company that provides housing and pedagogy for people with severe autism. Our field, we have 1,400 employees. Our field, when you expand it a little bit, has about 45,000 people in it. And we need about 65,000 to fill those holes. So even today, I would actually intuitively say those numbers probably true today. If not, those might be understating it. But it's not every job is glamorous, right? Like there are jobs you can get in Denmark. It may just not be your dream job, right? Now, if I was to say it, a marketing manager, I might say, well, what other skills, we're reading into, so what does that skill teach me, right? Well, you know how to tell a story, right? You know how to dissect information about people, right? You can do user research, right? You can probably have an eye for what does a users want, right? Well, you could work in HR, right? You could work as a business analyst for a software company. You could work as a prompt engineer, right? There's tons of things. What I saw in your slide that I thought was really awesome was like, let's talk about skills instead of talking about roles. You're not a marketing manager. You're a professional with a range of capabilities, right? So when you're reaching out to somebody saying, I really want to work in, as I did, it's like, I want to work with something that I give a damn about, right? Like I want to go to work every day and feel like what I do matters. I know nothing about pedagogy. I mean, absolutely nothing. You would never put me in front of these people with autism. But I'm really good at finding the people and the leaders that are going to help them be successful. So I get to feel that sensation, right? So think about what you can do with your skill sets and remove yourself from a role. Stop being a marketing manager.
I have a lot of follow-up questions for you later.
Okay.
How many more? Okay, I'm going to ask one more question. Okay, I think which will be very relevant for a lot of people. What advice would you give to someone who has applied for many jobs but hasn't been called back? What would you do? What is the advice?
Mine might be a little bit more holistic because I think we gave lots of tips on how to maybe get over why you might not be getting a call back. But one advice that I don't even know where I heard it was that at that point you're probably getting a bit demotivated and a bit down and your energy is low, and that's not good when you're applying for jobs because then you're probably not putting your best foot forward. Someone recommended allocating a specific hour and a half that day, that's when you sit down and you do that. And then you enjoy the rest of your day not being employed. I know it might not be fun, but the benefit is that you're not working. So try and, instead of procrastinating all day and thinking about it and I should be doing this, I should be doing this, you can only do a couple hours a day, set that, do it, and then just enjoy the benefits of unemployment.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much for that good advice. I got one more. If you had to summarize the Danish employer's mindset in one sentence when reviewing CVs, what would it be? If you had to summarize the Danish employer's mindset in one sentence
Yeah.
I think
when
that's
reviewing
good.
CVs, what would it be?
I mean, I think they need to connect with what they read. And then that happens also in terms of calling. They need to connect, they need to see that, you know, this is the person that I want. Right? Because they know what the job that they're I would expect that they know what the job that they're advertising. Right? So that was my feeling when I saw it. I simply felt disconnected with 95 people out of those 100. This doesn't make sense. Why are you writing this? It needs to make sense. It needs to, but you need at the end it needs to be something special somehow. And that something special again has to do with how you tell the story. It's not only about the content. It's also about how you frame it. And it's a little bit can get quite a bit artistic at the top. 1%, 2%, 3%. Right, and then it goes worse and worse and worse as you get to 70%. So yeah, I would say try to make something there, and try to maybe also have, at least in your summary, which is the first thing that they read, have something that is unique, have something that is about you, but that is somewhat relevant, right? But still interesting somehow. Maybe just one adjective, some word there that would just catch their attention.
Learning the Danish language will actually save you or drown you in your search for a job here in Copenhagen. So I would like you guys to warmly welcome Othman, Abosalah to the stage. Technical consultant Medios, would learning the Danish language give you a better chance in the Danish job market? Do you need this? You don't have slides, I remember.
I don't have slides.
Yeah.
Thank you for the nice presentation, actually. I would not do that better than you. Thank you so much. And thanks, everyone, for joining this nice event. Well, the question is, was it a coincidence to get my job in Denmark, or did the Danish language do the trick? I would say yes, it did the trick. It helped, and even more, it was the reason to get me hired or enter to the marketplace in Denmark. In 2015, I arrived to Denmark, and the first thing that I was asking myself about, how can I find the key to enter that community? And the answer is the language. After learning more about the culture and how special this society is, I found out that the language is the key to get wherever you want. It will help, and as I mentioned, for me it was the reason. After a short period, after starting learning the language, I saw that there was an event for employers to give a chance for the freshly graduated people, and I holded my CV and I went there. I found many companies there, and I went to one of these companies and I said, "Hello, I would like to apply. I would like to give you my CV." And she said, "We need someone speaking Danish." And then I switched immediately to Danish and I started to communicate with her. And then I could see something in her eyes. I gave her my CV, and after a few days I got the email that I'm invited to have an interview with them. And everything went well, and I got that job. Few years later, I wanted to change to another workplace. And I had the interview with the direct manager. He's based in Sweden. And then I got to the technical interview, but I got a call from that direct manager say, "The administrator at the Danish office would like to meet you because she would like to make sure that you are speaking Danish." So again, it's Danish language. So what I want to say here, I met her. It was not like an exam, but it was just like to make them feel that I understand the Danish culture, especially at work. And I have been questioned about, do you know anything about the Danish culture at work? Because it's an important thing here. So it's something to be considered, something to be learned, because they need to feel they have chemistry. Because I was rejected from some interviews because of the chemistry. So the team leader would like to meet you and ask you questions and see if you fit in the team or not. Because if they didn't feel the chemistry, even if you are qualified and experienced, they will reject you. They would rather go to someone who has the chemistry in the team. Because the stuff can be learned, but the chemistry cannot be created. So this is something very important. And I need to say, if you are working in digital transformation or in IT, you have a big chance to get inside the community, because once you are there, you only need the Danish language to communicate, but once you are there, most of the phrases and the terminology will be in English. So just try to enter that door, and once you are inside, it's okay, it's fine, you can still survive with it. So how to do it after learning the Danish language? Because you need to enhance it. So you can use the BPP module that I will say. So be brave, because Danish language has a lot of vowels in it. So you need to dare to speak and pronounce. And the second thing, practice. I would advise you to find any NGOs in your area and offer your help, offer your time That's why it's not the main reason, but that's one of the reasons I'm with the Danish Red Cross. Because if you are volunteer, you can practice. You can give your time, and then you can speak to the people and build your network as well. And by the way, I know someone who know the king. I met him once. I have a picture with him. So, yeah. Even when you go shopping and so on, start to practice and use your language. And the third thing is put your English skill aside, because if you keep using it, you will never get the chance to speak Danish. The last thing that I would say, as I mentioned, it's very important. I get it twice in my life. I'm not here to motivate you. I'm just sharing my experience. It's not a template. It might fit you or not, but I just wanted to share it with you, and I hope that can be insight for you. Thank you so much.
Our final speaker for tonight. Now, she is a true global citizen with 20 years of experience working with Maersk, with the Novo Nordisk, and currently employed with Color Plus. She has also worked across 5 continents. Am I right, Martha? And she is she holds an MBA from, I hope I pronounced it correctly, Rutgers? Rutgers? Yeah, I knew. There's some wrong in that. Rutgers Business School, and she's a certified supply chain professional. Now, when someone comes with such solid credentials, you would expect it's easy peasy finding a job here in Denmark, in Copenhagen, right? Am I right? Yeah. Solid credentials. But trust me, Martha has experienced some speed bumps, I would say, and she's going to share with us her speed bumps with us today, and how she managed to turn those speed bumps into stepping stones. So please give it up for Martha Svendsen, Senior Project Manager, Color Plus, the challenges I faced looking for a job in the Danish market and how I overcome them. The floor is yours, Martha. Oh, the clicker! But it will be the last one, right?
Yeah,
the last slide, so you don't show it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for being here. I think it's really nice to see all of you here. What I would like to share with you today is my experience landing a job in Denmark and some of the challenges that I faced, basically. I only have one slide, so I think it's enough because we have a lot of slides already going for beforehand, right? So before I started in this position, just to give you a background, I have several situations when I had to find a job in Denmark. The first one was when I was moving from Singapore to Copenhagen, many years back. That was actually an easy peasy one because I was moving from a corporate called Maersk in Singapore to join corporate Maersk in Denmark. So basically I was really relying on the network that I had within the company. So if you remember what Tabitha mentioned or Rasmus mentioned about that there is 31% of jobs seekers actually landed their jobs through networking. And that is actually, I was one of them. I'm not part of the statistics, but I could relate myself that this is actually what happened to me during that time. And the situation number 2 is when I moved from New York to Copenhagen. That was a little bit different, a little bit of bummer there because I didn't have any network at all in Denmark. And everybody has already said, all the speakers said that networking is really king here when you try to find a job in Denmark. I didn't have any network, but at that time it was a very fortunate situations where they really needed a talent or talents with my specifications. So then I tried to reach out to my network again in Denmark. And then I landed 2 jobs in Maersk and in Novo Nordisk, and I chose Novo Nordisk because it's quite new for me, so it was really nice. So networking again, it was purely networking. And of course, CV, the competence and profiles and so on, right? Situation number 3 is actually just recently. If you're part of Club 5000 now, I was part of Club 1. I was really happy with Novo Nordisk, 7.5 years working there, and then suddenly the strategies changed and my project got discontinued. So I was offered 2 alternatives, right? One is seeking another job in Novo Nordisk or moving out, basically. So I chose the latter one, which was because I was very disappointed. The project was my baby, and then why did you guys do that? It was quite a brave decision, I know, but and this is where all the bomb starts, right? As Ai-Cheng mentioned. So the challenge that I faced at that time was, of course, lack of network, and I think we have a lot of speakers also mentions that networking is key. Bjørn mentioned that, hey, pick up the phone and then map your network was really key as well. I didn't have that, basically. So, and the reason for that is because when you work in a corporate settings for many years, you kind of focus your network only within your internal company. And then I realized at that time, as soon as you get out, all these good connections that you had working in the corporate world may not necessarily exist anymore outside of the company. So I think that was actually a really big learning for me, and I felt very alone in the jungle of unknowns. So it's a good learning for me. And then, how do I overcome that? I realized at that time, and this is maybe something new that I could add from your presentation, is network is not about who you know. It's about who knows you. And then it has to be a bit more personal than just professional. And it has to start before you get out of the job. So when I try to overcome this challenge here, I need to reach out to my network, even humble myself to ask for help. That is one. And second, I leverage on my personal network as well. So to overcome this, why I landed this position right now is also because I need to see, okay, is there any of my friends who knows someone that also knows me? So I reach out to the husbands of my girlfriends, for example, right? Like, hey, can you help me because you know me and so on. So it's also about who knows you. So please map the network that you have, also personal network. It actually really helps. I get a couple of interviews through those channels as well. Coffee meetings, join meetups, and one thing I would like to add about network here is when you reach out to someone to, for work or for questions, right? There's one thing that is very important. Everybody is busy. Everybody's busy. So unless you have something specific that you want them to do, you might probably get a cold shoulder, basically. That's my experience as well. So when I do my some coaching and mentoring stuff, my coach said, you need to be specific what you want your network to do. One, do you want them to know that you're looking for a job? Or you want your network to tell you which position that is open in the company? The third is, or you want them to give you a recommendation for specific positions. So you need to be very specific on what you want them to do for you. And then secure when to follow up, right? So in that sense, they will not waste time to kind of figure it out, okay, what do you want? So I think be specific on your request there. And then emotions, oh my God. Being laid off is not a good feeling, for sure. Suddenly you feel alone, you lost your identity, you're like, okay, who am I now? I'm not this person working for mayors, Novo Nordisk and so on, right? Loss of confidence, fear of failure. Not getting an interview is one thing, not getting called back is another thing. It's, sense of disappointment and so on, right? So how do I overcome that? Of course, talking to people, reaching out for people for coaching. I actually, after this LinkedIn announcement, some people actually have reached out to me saying, hey, do you have time for coffee because I didn't get any tickets for this event, can we meet or something like that. So reach out to people for coffee, and then but with a good tone and be specific why you're reaching out, right? So that's a very good thing that I learned. Reflections, and I reach out for meditations because I need to center myself, and then to be able to, when I get into interviews, I need to be able to be stable and then be able to communicate what I want. So it really, really makes sense to reach out within and then see what you can do internally. Let me know if I speak too fast. But the next one is skills and mastery. We talk a lot about upskilling on AI, even though it's a cheated upskilling, but LinkedIn is really good, Coursera is really good as well, right? We talk about that. We also learn about how to create CV, but I would like to add something in the upskilling part. Try to find also, especially when Tabitha mentioned about that, enjoy your unemployment time, right? Try to upskill on some things that you're also interested, not just professional related. I have this concept about a Japanese concept called ikigai, if you guys know that, right? You know what you love, you know what the world needs, you know what you can get paid for, right? And then I need to cheat. And you know what you're good at, basically, right? So if you know yourself, then you will be able to see, okay, maybe not just AI, maybe I would like to learn, in my case, I would like to learn how to write and how to play piano. I actually started to learn piano when I was unemployed. So in that sense, you gain more spirit, more good energy, more appreciations of yourself. And that actually will kind of exude in you when you do an interviews. My experience here in Novo Nordisk and Coloplast, interviews has several steps. The first interview, second interview, and then the last one is maybe a grandparents interview. And sometimes you get called in for lunch with the team, because I think Othman also mentioned that the chemistry with the team is also very important, right? So I think being able to know yourself, who you are, not just professional, but also personal, is very key, because people are judging you from different aspects. The hiring manager judging you from your professional competencies, the team members judging you from, is he interested enough, is she fun enough, right? What is the activities that we could relate her or him with? So I think you need to try to use the time to, reinvent yourself, not reinvent, to discover yourself, not just professional, but also your personal being, basically. That would really, really help. Again, yes, reverse mentoring is also good, because if you're trying to transition to a different roles that you probably don't have a lot of competencies, it's always good to also reach out to people, maybe more junior than you, but then learn what her or his skills are. So that's kind of like what I actually did as well at that time when I wanted to be a specialist. Can I be a specialist in quality? Yeah, let me see what they do. But yeah, so just be open-minded and be creative in finding yourself. Yeah, and then culture. I think we talk about corporate culture, Danish culture. Understanding the language is very key, for sure. And then I think Bjørn, you also mentioned informal tone in Denmark. Basic is very key also, right? And then I think on the CV also, you also mentioned that we need to show our quiet achievements, because I think in Denmark people are very, very subtle. Of course you have to show that you can, but it should not be too braggy. So I come from Asia. Everybody is so competitive in Asia, and I was in the US, everybody in New York, everybody is, if you want to work hard and show yourself, you will succeed. But in Denmark it's a little bit different. I learned that you have to be quietly standing out. So I think the understanding your own culture, your own inclinations, and how you bridge that towards the Danish culture is very key. So that's what I learned. I try to learn myself with meditations, with learning my Indonesian culture and so on. So subtlety, humbleness is very key. And then be yourself, I think. So before I go to my last conclusions, I think I just want to point out that Rasmus also mentioned that 62% position is never published. And this is the position that I'm in now. It was not published. And then 39% of those positions filled through networking. And that's also what happened to me. And that's because I use my personal network to be able to kind of, hey, I have these competencies. If you have a position or you need a talent, please let me know. And I think when all stars lined up, when you have a good intentions, I think that the doors will be open for you, right? So just use your personal network, and then to be creative. My last point here, just as something to remember for you guys to bring home, is that networking is personal. Who knows you is very key. So make every single interactions that you have with people, either within your company now or outside, is an opportunity to create a good and meaningful connections. Don't focus on finding a job, focus on making connections, because in that sense, they know you, they know who you are, right? That's one thing that I would like to live for you, and know thyself, basically.
I have a question to Sandra. I really like your insights. When reaching out, you said you reached out to your network and said, I have these competencies and if you need that talent. And in order to do that personal, are you calling them or is it via LinkedIn? How are you reaching out to them?
Yeah, when I said it's personal network, it's really personal network. It's actually one of the person that I know, so I'm using her as well as my network. But then if it's another case, I would perhaps reach out to LinkedIn first. And this is not going to be a cold call, because it's already a personal network that I have worked with, or he knows me before from meetings and so on. I reach out for one person that I have had meetings, very good meetings. We have a good connections, chemistry at that specific meeting. And then I reach out to him. He actually works in Lundberg, I think. Yeah, Lundberg. And I ask him, hey, I'm applying for a job under Teresa, who's the hiring manager, under this role. Could you please give me a recommendation to Teresa that I'm applying for this? And the reason why is because I get laid out, I get competencies, and the role is very interesting for me, And then he came back and said, hey, thanks for the interest. I've already reached out to Teresa. She might probably call you. And she did. But my profile is a bit too high for the job, so I didn't get the job. But it actually results in something. Mm-hmm. Very specific. You have to be very specific. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any more questions? Yeah, Mons?
So, is there a general skill that you think is worth investing in for everyone? And what's in your opinion, the best way to learn that skill? Just like one sentence reply from everyone would be great.
Okay, so yeah, I will start.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that speaking about AI and Gen AI, which is the topic of the day, it's probably the topic of the century, is that you still need to know your stuff. I was gonna say you still need to know your shit. You're still gonna know your stuff. So I would say that even if you use this skill of AI, right, and I use it myself, and I'm writing code, actually it's the robot who writes code, but I am the one who is reviewing that code. And if I leave it unsupervised, the end result will also be unsupervised, and eventually it will not work. So if I were to choose something that I would invest in, I would actually invest in knowing something that the AI hasn't learned yet, and something that will allow me to supervise this AI. And I've been even having a conversation with somebody from this room who was telling me, everything is replaced by AI, but they have no idea what this AI is doing. It's just doing the work for them, but they have no idea. That person is looking at me right now. So I would invest in actually knowing the topic that you have studied and that you're working for, and then let the AI do the grunt work, but not the intelligent work somehow.
Okay, I'm just going to end this Q&A with one question for each of you to answer.
Can I answer that question? This is a really good question. It's a really good question. I can't answer it in one sentence, but I can tell you this. I was at a meeting a couple years ago where Mark Cuban, who was the previous owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and we're still crying about Luka Doncic, screw those Lakers. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're better off. Yeah, that's and a high school kid asked him, should I learn software engineering because that's where the jobs are? And Cuban looked her in the eyes and said, no, you should learn something you're passionate about. You should learn something you're really into and you're really good at that. So there was a lady down here who mentioned she's a marketing manager. I'm sorry to pick on you. No, you're not a marketing manager, you're a human being with interests, skills. Do the thing that makes you happy. Like, the difference in salaries in Denmark is really not that big, right? Like, whether you work as a school teacher or you work as a lawyer, the difference is not that big, right? Do something, learn something that you care about, become really freaking passionate about that, and through that passion become really good at it. And whether that's AI, whether that's selling, whether that's, I don't know, skip jumping or whatever, like whatever it is, become the expert at it. No AI will ever replace you if you do that.
Okay, so my last question, and then you guys get your answer. What's one underrated tip that could dramatically improve a candidate's chances of getting a job? What's one underrated tip that could dramatically improve a candidate's chances of getting a job? Anyone has an answer?
When I was like new to the community, I would say LinkedIn was very underrated.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say that.
Lincoln, Martha? One underrated tip?
I think listening skills.
Listening skills.
Yes, because in the interviews, you need to be able not just to answer questions, but you need to listen, not just listen to the interviewers, but listen to the room, basically. And I think that requires presence, that requires self-awareness, requires humility and humbleness.
Yeah?
Fearlessness.
Fearlessness. Vlad?
Craftsmanship or attention to detail.
Huh?
Attention to detail,
Attention
loving
to
what you
detail.
do.
Okay. Well, please, ladies and gentlemen, give them a warm round of applause. First to Bjørn.
Thank you very much.
And for you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, hope you're doing wine. Okay, and the next one, Vlad. A round of applause for Vlad for speaking. We're perfect later. And we have Othman.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Last but not least, we have Martha. Gesture of thank you, appreciation. Thank you guys so much for appearing tonight. I really appreciate it on behalf of the board and of the club as well. Now I'm going to, just take a picture here. This workshop would not have been possible without my team, who were very involved in organizing it and making it happen, because this is the first time we are actually organizing a workshop like that. We have never done it before, Anas. We've never done it before, Roberto. They are on the board, and this is the first time, so I'm incredibly proud that I got this amazing team behind me, and I'd like to extend my appreciation to them. The first is Anurag Kumar. Woo! Thank you so much. Lucky Boo. Thank you very much. And Noka for coming. Thank you very much. Fabio for timekeeper. Woo! Thank you. Thank you. Bura. Registration. Thank you for coming so early, and also Rakibu for coming early as well, and Anurag and Vlad too. A certificate to myself.